Buddy, welcome once again. I'm the Epic Party Guy, and this is Dyson Sphere with special guest tonight. The one, the lovely, the only, Darla After Dark. Say hi, Darla.
Hello, hello.
There we go. Yes. As usual, the Discord channel is open. If you do join, just abide by the one rule. Same rule as in the chat. Don't be a dick. You think that would be a fairly easy rule to follow, right?
No, people are dumb and squishy. Can you tell in my real life I am a counselor?
Yeah, you being a therapist or counselor?
Therapist.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would think that might fall under the category of mostly only seeing people at their worst.
It's a mix. Always a mix. Usually at their worst, at the crux of the worst, life's a roller coaster. So I've actually had people like schedule with me, and then like I actually meet with them, and they're like, "Hi, you seem nice, but I'm not having problems anymore." And I'm like, "Okay, is that for now, or are you good?"
Yeah, I mean, it really should be. All right, so let's set up, the tools you need to address problems in the future. But people don't think that far ahead.
No, we're short-sighted.
Yeah.
But we can always hope to change and grow and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, you stopped believing in that a long time ago, didn't you?
I actually really, one of my fundamental like goals, or like not goals, like the lighthouse for me is my belief in change. Nothing is stagnant. The only thing that is constant is change.
Okay.
I mean, there's things that are consistent within us, I mean, I'm sure you could look back at certain things to like when you were a kid and be like, oh yeah, that's just me.
You mean when I was young and dumb? Now I'm no longer young.
But full of cum? Yeah, back then, in the before times.
Oh yes, the before times.
Yeah. So we were like talking about.
Anyway. Yeah, we were talking about our roleplay games and roleplay systems. And how I'm not so subtly trying to convince you to write and run a game, or even write a game, and I'll edit it if you want, and give feedback. Though I'd prefer to give feedback in the after scenario report.
Which makes total sense. You can give better feedback. I mean, I feel like the before feedback is, does this make sense? And is it graspable? Because that can be an issue. It's like you have so many ideas, and they're not all bad, but do they make sense together? Are they cohesive?
I mean, I feel like that's the case for my cyberpunk scenarios, where it's like, okay, I can tell these are decent ideas. These are interesting stories. But who gives a shit?
Well, that's the thing with a lot of really any form of role playing, whether it is live action, whether it is like long form text, short form text, tabletop. It comes down to what will make people give a shit. And sometimes it's the world itself, sometimes it's the themes of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about um, that Chariots LARP, where with the basic premise of okay, so all of these people who society was looking down upon in different parts of history decided I don't want to live on this planet anymore and made deep space colonizing ships. Is
Hmm.
that about right?
That is that is it. I mean, like, it is it is really built on the idea. It's like, you know, if you're one of these undesirable people or overlooked
Mm-hmm.
people, what happens if you do just say, screw it, peace out?
Mm-hmm.
You
Oh,
know?
firstly, hello, Triforce Cutie Mark. Welcome to the stream. Because I always like to welcome people who enter into the chat.
Welcomes are important.
Indeed, everyone should feel welcome, even when they're not, because then you can ridicule them easier. Kidding.
Deviousness,
I'm kidding.
deviousness.
Kidding.
Let's be honest, both of us are a little chaotic evil.
I am not chaotic evil. I am lawful evil. Thank you. Especially if you ask my ex.
Oh, ah.
Sorry, did that get too real?
Too real. I just like held up my mug of tea. I was like, yeah, and then looked into it. Like, ooh, ooh.
Mm-hmm. Oh Lord,
Uh,
that is a whole debacle in of itself.
True. But actually, on that note, that is something I found interesting is over time how a lot of games have shifted away from an alignment system, which is nice. Kind of wish it would transition more into video games, though, because that still is kind of an issue.
Mm.
Like, at least in some. But yeah, like with role-playing campaigns wise,
Yeah. I mean, it is handy to have labels that show the core interests. Whether it's
Mhm.
virtues and vices from World of Darkness, classic World of Darkness,
Mhm.
or sorry, whether it's archetypes from classic World of Darkness, or virtues and vices from New World of Darkness, or whatever the heck they have for what's the new one, Chronicles? Yeah, Chronicles is
Yes.
I still don't know what they have for Chronicles of Darkness.
Legitimately,
I
I
should.
am. I've debated how much I even want to be. How much I want to, like, ADHD brain dive into it. Uh, I like the idea. I think there's definitely games where you need it. Like, World of Darkness in all its forms benefits from it. Um, More generic, for lack of a better description, more generic games. It's a question of does it serve a purpose, because you can run into this issue. Like, I like playing characters that it's very situational.
That sounds chaotic.
Um, it can fall under chaos, but it's not necessarily arbitrary.
Mm-hmm.
It's more there's an internal logic. So, to use a video game example of how I play characters, when I was playing Mass Effect, my Shepard was pretty much a goody two shoes, except if the best way to get things done was just to shoot someone in the head. And that's how I played her. She did a lot of good stuff, but she always had that like 20% renegade points where it was just like I could sit here and listen to the speech or pop pop.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were just talking too long, and we're gonna fight anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like. I guess I like the spectrum more than the pure. You're in this category or this category.
Mm-hmm. And that's something I was gonna say. You know, it really is on a spectrum where, and like so having not the two axes of law and chaos and good and evil lets you have that kind of spectrum a bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It. There's a lot more range.
Right.
Though the thing that tends to happen is, and I think some of it's understandable. When evil is an option, it has to be mustache twirling.
Hmm.
And it's like, no, I just want to be like bad without being like cruel. It's just
Mm-hmm.
cold, calculated nonsense. Maybe that's why I like dystopian and cyberpunk things. Now that I think about it, they tend to have a bit more moral gray.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. That does make sense for you. I'm kind of reminded of what was it, L.A. Noir,
Mm-hmm.
where the guy would, you'd try to doubt, but because it was so non-granular, it would basically just have the character like just tear into the guy or tear into whomever, and just be like, "Oh, you're an absolute liar. You're the worst kind of person." And it's like, God damn, I wasn't trying to say that.
Yeah, that's a very specific thing. That is very specific. That is really the problem, because it's a question of how are we defining doubt? Doubt can be, I'm not sure I believe you, to like slamming someone's head against the table and then shaking them. Like, you're a liar, you're a dirty fucking liar, and I'm gonna kill you. It's like, okay, that wasn't.
Yeah. You did it. You're an evil, irredeemable piece of trash, and I'm gonna make sure you get the chair.
Yes, like, whoa, you just asked me if I ate that candy bar. This escalated rapidly.
Uh-huh. Well, that escalated quickly.
I am.
I don't even know why I'm putting so many minors in. Just what I normally do.
It's your default state of functioning.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
When in doubt, overdo it.
That sounds like you.
I am offended. I'm not really offended.
No, you're not. Like, and I didn't say it was a bad thing either. Just occasionally. I'll put it this way. There's times where you amp me up in a good way. There's times I have been in a position of being like, chill, breathe,
Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
And
But your energy is good for a lot of things.
oh, I know.
Easy now.
But no, I mean, so yeah, there are way too many. But see, when you're designing a system, when you're designing a game, when you're writing a scenario, and you can't really plan ahead for all of the shades of gray that are gonna be there. And so that's why it's so hard for, like, I think there were, what, 52 archetypes in original World of Darkness, where they were, that you could, one for each playing card, really, or tarot card, I guess. I don't know. Or
There were a lot.
Yeah, or 9 alignments in Dungeons and Dragons. Um, and that was just a thing. That was just,
Mm-hmm.
the level that they of granularity that they did. Um,
And it worked well.
it worked well enough. I wouldn't necessarily say well.
It
Um,
it functioned enough of the way it was usually meant to function. Sometimes.
Okay. I mean, and they kind of hand waved a bit of it by saying, listen, this is not a world where of relative alignments.
Mm-hmm.
There is, like, distinct and discrete evil. There is, like, tangible good. So
Yeah.
I kind of think that was a little bit of a hand wave and a little bit of a way to turn it into a game mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what they needed to do.
For the way those games are designed, you do need the mechanic. I think my issue is when it is applied to worlds and games, and it doesn't add anything,
Mm-hmm.
and it's more constraining than useful. Because it's a lot easier to have that. That sort of, there is a tangible objective value system in this world. When, for example, one of the goddesses in your world's a fucking evil dominatrix. Okay. Versus games that theoretically are a lot more fluid. Where it isn't a theme or so much good versus evil. It makes sense in World of Darkness to have archetypes and, vices and virtues, because ultimately it's a game about compromised humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And giving into your inner beast, so it works there. Anyway, with video games, like, I think I like the Mass Effect style Paragon Renegade because it opened up more options than it closed in a lot of cases, at least by the last game. It was
Okay.
it was more like, okay, like, you could be a good guy up until a certain point, and then you might be 50-50, and that may or may not help you down the road, because people may not trust you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, another good example that might have a role-playing game, I'm not sure, is Pillars of Eternity, which has, I guess it's closer to like a virtues, well, it's a disposition system.
Mm-hmm.
Based on your reputation, so if you reach a certain level of cruelty, you're just known to be a cruel person. You can also be known to be a diplomatic person. It's just a matter of...
It's from a certain point of view.
Right. Or you could be a great negotiator, and when negotiations fail, you throw someone in your fucking dungeon. Just leave them there and be like, we tried.
I mean, yeah.
What sort of game have you been wanting to play?
Well, I'm a forever GM, so any. And that's just the sad nature of it.
Poor thing.
No, I'm kidding. Um,
Always the GM, never the player.
Always the child bride, never the. Always the child bridesmaid, never the child bride.
Hmm.
Oh, Lola. There we go. But no, I do really enjoy the shades of gray. You know, what's the moral choice? Or, you know, the question is, what do you do?
Mhm.
Where, I mean, that's really what I love. That's why I love running games, because they have um, the concept afterwards of, okay, so you all get the same setup, but what do you do? You know, and it's just great to see that, you know, that come into play. Because like the Cyberpunk game, the Blade Runner game that I ran for a time at the convention, that I ran it twice, and another time back home. However, every single time we did it, it had a completely different way it played out. And yeah, a lot of that is because you know, sometimes you just get a team of murder hobos. Other times,
It happens.
oh yeah, yeah. Rarely, you know, very rarely you get murder hobos. Um,
Yeah. You can't always control which train car unloads at your station.
this is true. And you can't control if the train car is coming in to unload at the train station and goes off the rails and wrecks.
Yep.
Oh Lord. I mean, so or like where in a world where the, you know, the question is like, you know, what makes you human? What makes you, you know, a person? What makes you a person? And the answer to them was, to one group was, how well do you take a rocket launcher to the face? That's how they determined, you know, who is a human. The answer was,
That
yeah, the answer
is a choice.
yes, it was a choice. And given that it was a 4-hour one shot and we were like at 3 hours and 35 minutes at when they made the request, I'm like, okay, you know, you are able to requisition that, yes. Are you sure you know what? You know what? I'm not even gonna say it. You know what you are asking. You know what they can do. Go ahead and, you know, if you wish to requisition that.
If it works, it works? Question
Oh,
mark?
it worked. It worked quite well.
Everybody had a good time?
Yes, that actually is the important part. And yes, they
Absolutely.
did, I think.
Absolutely.
So,
That is the other thing too. It's like, you know, you asked me earlier kind of I I am looking for. And that is an important question because no matter how good a GM someone is, no matter how generally great the players are, the worst things happen when you get a mismatched group.
right.
You know, someone's wanting a zany adventure and the other person wants melodrama.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, It's
I
like, let's pour
mean-
some coffee in our soup.
Just- Okay, that might be the analogy I'm using from now on. You know,
Have you been given a gift?
a little bit, little bit. And yeah, just just man, that whole thing. The choices were made. That's all I'll say. Choices were made.
You sound like you're about to stare off into the distance and have a war flashback.
You know, every GM has that scenario, that one shot, that campaign, that gaming group where they're like, what the absolute F were they thinking? And just, oh my lord, what? I mean, some of the original versions of that I know of are like where the DM doesn't expect for the fighter to accept the evil voice's promises and complete the sacrifice. And I mean, when one of your players becomes a recurring villain, that just shows that someone made a choice.
That is 100% true.
Yeah.
You know,
That.
and it can certainly be fun.
Yeah. This is true.
It just can really throw a wrench in the system, and also depends on the group. And this is more of a LARP thing, but it can happen in any sort of group interactive activity.
Mhm.
Fucking bleed. Yeah, you can't.
Bleed?
You bleed.
Oh, where like real life drama gets in the way.
Real life drama gets in the way, or feelings from the game cross over into feelings about people outside of the game to a substantial degree. You know, which
Yeah.
can happen regardless. It happens more in LARP, but I've seen it happen in tabletop too.
Right. Right.
That goes to, again, also having a feel for the folks you're playing with over time, and like having just boundaries.
Boundaries? What are those? Why would anyone need to worry about those?
I know they're mythical things, aren't they?
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
Like the Scotch unicorn.
The Scotch unicorn. Do go on.
That's a unicorn, but it has a tartan pattern on its skin.
Okay. See, I wasn't sure what kind of unicorn you were going for there. So, yeah.
What was your first thought?
I really don't know. I mean, something to do with threesomes and kilts, you know?
Threesomes and kilts?
Yeah, unicorns.
I'm gonna say this. Like, you are such E&M wonderful trash that your mind went automatically to that kind of unicorn.
Yes.
No, you have a fair point. I originally was gonna say, you know what? I might just say unicorns and kilts. I like that mental image.
You would.
Of course, I love a kilt.
I do. See, I keep saying it with that kind of inflection, and for absolutely no reason.
Habit.
Yeah, a little bit.
There you go. But yeah.
Oh my god, this is... Why does this have to be stupid? It just automatically goes to there, and it shouldn't. Oh, I can't believe I have to do that. But I do appreciate you saying I'm quality trash, not just trash. 'Cause I was almost going to be offended.
No. And
I
you
was
know
gonna
I
be
don't
offended.
think.
No.
No. You know I think you're gold.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Barf.
You know, you're the one who keeps saying ew emotions, and then you keep to your own statements. So...
I didn't say I was consistent in that way. And I could say my own emotions are barf. My own emotions are often barf.
Uh-huh.
That's also how I deal with liking people a lot.
Yeah, you think... You're a therapist. You think you would know better.
I do, and I act better. It's just sometimes like it comes from that same place of like, oh, I love you so much, I want to bite.
Now, see, that I don't have a problem with.
So that's the limit?
What limit?
Jesus Christ. Oh,
God.
bless you.
God damn it, why are the mining machines not being made? That's the recurring mantra for this game. Where's the bottleneck now? Ugh.
That's the problem with freedom, isn't it?
A little bit. Oh, that's why.
There's a metaphor in that, honestly. God.
Yeah, I don't know why randomly things just weren't being made. Things just weren't being placed down. Oh, dang it.
Odd.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have thought about... Well, I've had loose ideas for settings and campaigns.
Okay. Oh, good. We're back to this. Go on.
Hey, you said you wanted to talk about it, so I'm keeping it topical. I could shift to Cloaca.
See, it's always a solid bet that that word will come up.
I don't have occasion to use it often, but it's a beautiful word.
I mean, you with Cloaca is like Rick and Morty with incest. It's gonna happen. It's gonna be said at some point.
It is my Szechuan sauce. Really. Oh yeah, so apparently they're replacing Justin Roiland, but that's a whole other conversation. Anyway.
I mean, for decent reason, if things are to be, if things are as they look they are.
Yeah. It's humanity. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, I actually had like two versions of a setting, and it was hard because I didn't know how cyberpunk I wanted to go with it.
All the cyberpunk.
Yeah, I was tempted. The question was sort of, do I want it to be, I feel like post-war? you can get a lot more cyberpunk.
Which war?
That was the thing. I was trying to decide if I wanted to go full alternate history, and have there be a Cold War, or set it further in the future and have it have a war. Because the sort of setting, it could go either way. Well,
I don't know. You know, it's... I mean, the question is, what's an allegory? What is it an allegory for? If you want to think of it that way. You know, what's the social commentary you're looking to do?
that was the problem I ran into. Too many ideas about where I could take it, because, I thought, okay, I could go, like, critical of capitalism and lean a bit into, my home base of cyberpunk, which, ranges from RoboCop to, Blade Runner. Environmental sort of commentary was another one, which can overlap or be very distinct.
Sure. I mean, Werewolf the Apocalypse was almost entirely, eco-terrorism. Eco-terrorism, the raging. Because they're all colon titles.
Basically. I mean, I have always been fascinated by the idea of eco-terrorism, and I'm gonna say something that would piss some people off, but I'm just gonna say it the way it is in my brain. At what point does eco-terrorism become justifiable? At what point do you have to look at the big picture?
It's kind of like the trope of Batman allowing Poison Ivy free reign. At what are we the baddies? Is the trope.
Exactly. There's definite extremes with Poison Ivy, but if we're talking about her destroying a company that is pouring thousands and thousands of gallons of oil into the Arctic, well, it becomes a question of, I guess, disproportionate justice. Then, should this being an unjust act entirely?
Actually, wait a minute. Let's see. This is making two-thirds, and these are consuming 1/3. Yeah, that should be fine. And again, we're touching back on the shades of gray.
It's a theme.
It is a theme.
It's kind of hard to avoid with like cyberpunk though, because you can argue that as much as there's problems with OCP in RoboCop, is their intention to always cause straight up evil, and are there points that their ideas in theory could be okay? Some of them.
I mean, if the only dichotomy available is complete order or complete chaos. If you have a city like Detroit in RoboCop, where it's either, I mean, OCP actually wasn't. I mean, I might not be remembering the movie right, but they weren't that bad in terms of what did they actually do. They were corrupt politicians using the police to target different areas to control real estate prices. Yeah.
Basically, from what I remember, it was so that kind of spans.
Yeah. And
that's sort of a theme from 1, 2, and 3, and it varies. With 1, sort of the cardinal sin of OCP is that they constructed RoboCop. In a sense, they kind of took away his free will to meet their agenda.
Okay.
By the time we get to RoboCop 3, like, they're straight up just dressed as Nazis. Like, the opening scene is basically like a fucking displacing people from a ghetto.
I mean, the question is, how badly do you, how much goose stepping is worrisome? How much goose stepping does there need to be for it to be worrisome? And that's not to say that, every form of order or control or, governmental control or government leads to Nazism or leads to fascism. But, we're kind of jumping midstream in those movies where we don't see which came first, the corruption or the chaos. I think it'll be a much more compelling and comprehensive story if there was a prequel, maybe, which showed that, Detroit wasn't that bad until OCP came in and the police started being weird.
Well, that's sort of the funny thing about it. Like, the general thing, which they don't spend enough time on, it's kind of in the background and brought up at random, is OCP came to power in part because of how poorly Detroit was run. It is sort of pulling off of where Detroit was at in the 80s and later 90s of factories were gone.
Right.
Drugs ran rampant.
Right.
There was no backbone. And that's kind of why the mayor is portrayed as kind of a sniveling, semi-corrupt, yet slightly well-meaning butthole. Because the sort of implication is, like, men like him have been in charge forever, and it hasn't worked well.
Okay, also, as an aside, there's your opportunity right there. He was a sniveling cloaca.
Oh, I like you.
You're welcome, honey.
I'll buy that for $1. Such a fucking quotable movie. But yeah, like that kind of does go back to, like, sometimes the problem with cyberpunk is it gets locked into either we go full Nazi or full fascist or bust.
Right. And
sometimes that's really good. RoboCop 3 is an example of, like, the fuck are we doing? Who read the script? Legitimately, like, the little kid in the movie who's like a genius hacker because RoboCop was inappropriately popular with kids, so they added a character like that. Okay. Her parents, they're basically trying to gentrify that area of Detroit. Um, her parents are seen for the first half of the movie, and you never see them again.
I mean, what? I mean, is that going on a racial stereotype?
No, well, like that's sort of the funny thing. The actress, I don't know if she actually is half white, half Asian, but her parents, a white dude, um, Asian woman of unknown origin. You know, they are literally just chilling in their slightly rundown apartment, and then it's like broken into and destroyed, and her parents are sent on one bus, and she escapes. And they never actually explain what happens. Like, my theory has been like they consider these people undesirables and basically force them into workhouses. But it's never clear. It's just very ham-fisted.
Okay.
You know, like it feels very much like, you know, the whole movie's looking like straight into the camera like, does this remind you of anything? It's like, it's like, yeah, it does. I don't know why you need to ask this question. They're Nazis. Like, literally, I want to say the bad guy, he's either British or German, which, you know, European.
Right.
That way in America.
I mean, like, was Hans Gruber supposed to be a comment?
Oh God, he's yes. Like, and what a fucking name of a character. I've always loved that.
Hans Gruber?
Hans Gruber.
I mean, hand grabber? I don't know.
Uh-huh. It just has good, like, when you say it, it's a lot of hard sounds.
Yeah.
Soft sounds. But,
it is choices were made.
as they often are. Whether they're good or not is your mileage may vary. But yeah, you know, kind of future fiction, cyberpunky stuff that is a little bit more nuanced than space Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, again, I mean, when you're writing something, it's kind of hard to be nuanced. I mean, we all want to be, like, you know, slick about it, but you never really know.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because see, that's kind of the problem with writing strategic geniuses. You have to come up with plans for them to come up with.
Shit's hard. Like, honestly, now that I think about it, I think that's part of why I have always avoided writing genius type characters.
Mm-hmm.
Because one, they can be a bit of a Deus Ex Machina at times, and two, they're very hard to write. You know, very hard, and very hard to write without crossing over into like Mary Sue territory.
Right. Yeah, that is a possibility.
You know, like, in a lot of ways, Sherlock is a Gary Stu.
Yeah, absolutely. And Watson, his only real function there is to be the Greek choir the audience stand-in.
Hmm.
so that the dumb reader will have things explained.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of Sherlock, the BBC show's popularity, is they actually gave Watson a more well-rounded character with
Hmm.
his own wants and needs and drives, and
Hmm.
they fully put him in opposition to the pain of Sherlock's genius, and there is kind of a Bojackiness with it of just because you feel bad about something and you're hurting because of your talent or whatever doesn't give you the right to hurt other people.
Hmm.
Which I think it works. I think it works. You know. But it also does make it hard. Like finding that balance between writing a smart character and writing a character that's they only found the solution because you put it in the head
Hmm.
of that character.
Right.
I think for me, trying to write a setting is there's things I automatically stay away from unless they absolutely like have a thematic or sometimes they're just flat out cool and genius characters kind of fall under that. Um, like my original setting idea was sort of post-fictional war. I can't remember the exact date, but around 2060, there's sort of the first constructed artificial island landmass.
Okay.
Um, it's unfortunately because it is the first. By that point, it's actually kind of old, and it becomes sort of a
Hellhole.
a den of corruption. I mean, it's technically off the coast of the U.S.
Hmm.
It's technically a territory, but it's mostly corporate owned.
Hmm.
You know, frequent blackouts and low economic areas. And the conflict is basically rooted in various factions trying to gain a foothold.
Okay.
And none could really fully wipe out the other without the consequences being too big.
Hmm.
With sort of corporate interests being between the kind of friendly faced but very cynical and manipulative corporation that on the surface abides by various economic sanctions and is very people forward and friendly, but is conducting a variety of unethical experiments
Hmm.
biomedically. The corporation that is basically OCP. They work security, they are basically at various points trying to recruit poor people to be augmented into soldiers, and which basically forces them into indentured servitude as well.
Hmm. Because of Deus Ex Machina style dependencies.
Basically,
Yeah.
you get all these augmentations genetically and cybernetically, and they have to be kept up, and that's not cheap.
Right.
You know. and players would basically, through a variety of circumstances, have discovered various pieces of information about corrupt individuals, and someone tries to take out players in a 1-2 punch. Get them all together, try to kill them, and their only option is to basically work with various factions, whether it's street gangs that ostensibly try to protect people, or just straight up deal drugs and don't give a shit. The corporations, you know, or try to go it alone and most likely get fucked.
As you do.
As one does. Per tradition. But yeah. It's just a matter of kind of piecing it all together that made it challenging, because I couldn't figure out thematically whether I wanted it to be like scathingly anti-corruption and anti-fascist or environmental, or all of the cyberpunk themes into nonsense.
I mean, but that's the thing with the different settings. The settings don't set those themes, the scenarios do. The settings are the easel, are the canvas. And if you make it, you know, if it's a big enough canvas, you can paint basically any story, any themed story onto it. But if it's, like, if the canvas is around a mannequin of some kind, then you're kind of stuck of themes with that mannequin, you know, that shape, that kind of thing. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I got you.
But, you know, kind of like D&D being a combat simulator. Or, you know, Scion basically only being able to tell stories about war. Because guess what? It mentions that there's a war going on in, you know, pretty much everywhere, including in character generation. And it gets old.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, you're stuck with a certain setup, and part of it, I think, is I just could never pick what sort of campaign I'd want to run. You know, that's always where I get stuck. I'm great at world building. I'm great at coming up with a very loosely designed campaign, and then it fucking falls apart, which is great for text RP, because I can go for a long ass time before eventually the other person loses interest, and it's like, cool.
Cool story, bro.
Basically, it's like, this is fun. I'm done. It's like, okay. The only exception to that is I did do a Darkest Dungeon based RP, which I think only worked because I have a horror writer deep down inside me. Yeah.
I mean,
it got dark. It got real dark.
they sometimes do that. It is interesting when you don't realize until you're in the middle of it. Oh wait, I really do touch upon this kind of theme or this kind of story or this kind of thing that happens a lot. And for me, that was where it was in one of the times I was running Blade Runner, and the player misheard me about something, about how a person looked. And he said something that made me just grab it and run with it. Where, okay, his memory is faulty. And I just hammered that home. Reality is changing around him. Like, the person who escorted him into the room suddenly has a different face. and then wasn't there the next time he looked back. And the player was so turned around. I think I inflicted sanity damage on the player.
But that's a really cool concept.
Yes, I mean, and he was one of the of course I'm blanking on the term. Blade Runner, not simulants, not. Wow, nouns just love to fly out of my head apparently.
But that was something that just like straight up clicked.
Yeah, he was one of the robots. I'm just gonna use the slur. I think it's a slur in that world. Whatever. He was one of them, and the kind of the whole thing was, are you what makes you human? Is it your memories make you human? Is it your feelings? Is it your dreams? Well, for him, it was, do you have a consistent grasp on reality? Became the big question. And
that's not gonna fuck anyone up.
Nope, not at all.
Not at all.
And I've completely lost where I am in my map. Oh, there we are. Okay. And and like on his way out of the building from where he was escorted in, I had the receptionist who had previously escorted him in and, then changed the face and then disappeared, have the same face as one of his human partners. And so suddenly he's thinking, wait a minute, that means that guy's a replicant too! And there's the noun. There you go. And it's like, no, I'm not a replicant, I'm a human. I was born, I had parents. Am I? I'm like, I got the bank shot. I got the.
You embraced the theme.
I did. By having one character's completely ignoring the mechanics sanity loss be on full display.
It works so well. That's the sort of shit I love. Like, embrace it and run with it. Like, and I think the truth is, I like, not always, I like a lot of my games just a little bit, I don't know if the word is dark like that, or like a little fucked. Just a little fucked. Just a little pinch of the fuck. Cause that's fucking interesting.
Yeah, and followed by my favorite question: what do you do? What do they do? How do they handle this? Do they handle this? Do they just put it out of their mind and, when people bring it up, just stick their fingers in there and just go, la 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 la, no. And yeah, I mean, that's absolutely fantastic to me. But
it's such a big question. I mean, that's kind of the heart of all role-playing when you think about it, is, what do you do? What do you do when you come up against your reality cracking in on itself? And, you can run and hide, you can confront it, you could say, fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want while I can. But either way, you gotta answer that question. Yeah. In a way, now that I think about it, the environmental side I think is more interesting of my concepts for that reason.
Okay.
You know. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, in the World of Darkness games that I'm trying to run, it's entirely freeform for the players and Monster Mash, and so it's got all the themes that are going on with the question, all right, what do you do? Because I want to see where anyone goes. So, okay, for environmental, do you think you would, I mean, the question for what type of setting, I guess, would be, is, do you want there to be some kind of hope? Or is the meta plot, if there is one, gonna be, okay, we're kind of past the point of no return?
That's a good question. And actually that might be more the struggle, is like, what would hope look like? Because my original concept, part of the setting that I wanted it to be more kind of central as a plot point is, it's a floating city composed of dozens of hexagonal platforms. Would players potentially have to consider allowing parts of the city to be destroyed, or destroying it themselves? How participatory and the risk of potential terrorism do want to be had, and is there a way to do it and not have it be absolutely bleak, or just fucking go full, like, there is no hope? We fucked it. It's like, well, we all know we fucked it. Which, I don't know, isn't bad. It just seems a little, I don't know.
I mean, that could be pretty interesting, where part of it, having, how do you decide which sections die? How do you how do you decide when you need to step in and play God like that? And I guess it would really become like, how do you quantify the value of life? I could see that being a consistent theme in there.
For sure. I mean, to me, that's part of the appeal of cyberpunk. Yeah, I'm a little messed up in the head. Because I'm about to say, I know, shocking, right? I was about to say, part of the appeal is that, in a world where, overtly or covertly, people are all assigned intrinsic value, what is wrong with taking that power away? We're all forced into the system. Does it matter if we agree with it, or we disagree with it, or we change it? Or are we still just going to be forced to play that same game? Because my original concept was, you know, or the thing I posed to myself is, can I design a cyberpunk that kind of empowers different marginalized people, culturally, religiously, etc., to fight back against the powers that be? And it was more of an optimistic sort of thing. And then I started actually like sitting down and thinking of like options and the setting, and I was like, this isn't optimistic.
Nope. This isn't optimistic at all.
There's no ponies here. I was lied to.
Oh, Lord.
You know, like I don't think. Oddly enough, with Cyberpunk, I think I'm more drawn to a status quo ending than an absolutely bleak one. Mm-hmm. But I think either can work. You know.
I mean,
and let the players decide what hope is.
I mean, that is kind of how you ran that Cyberpunk Cthulhu game, Cthulhu scenario I ran.
I'm curious about that.
What about it?
About that was your feel for how it went.
Well, it's obviously difficult to have any kind of happy ending in a Cthulhu game, you know?
Yeah.
That's just not something that tends to happen.
It's rare.
So, I guess part of what I was hoping to see was, what do the players consider a happy ending?
But yeah, that's what I liked about it. You know, because a happy ending is relative, right? If you were offered the opportunity to live in a perfect dream world, that you wouldn't know the difference from reality, and you know, all of your basic needs will be met so you can live in that reality for as long as you like, would you take it?
Yeah.
Same here. You know.
Oh, I completely forgot what I was trying to do here.
There's that like sort of generic impulse to say no, we prefer reality. But
it's like,
but why?
You know, yeah, I mean, it's the same question as, would you want to escape the Matrix? I mean, the Matrix is much bleaker than, you know, than the thing I proposed, I showed.
Yeah.
But in no way is it really different, because, you know, it's, do you want it, you know, do you want the horrible truth, or do you want a beautiful lie? Which in of itself is absolutely a valid question, a valid theme.
Oh yeah. Actually, like, my favorite Final Fantasy game is Final Fantasy Advanced Tactics, and ultimately you're playing the bad guy for that very reason. You know, you're playing a kid that's new in town, and you befriend a girl who's an albino who dyes her hair red, who gets teased by kids at school, a kid whose mother's died, and he's very soft-spoken and a little less, well, he carries a stuffed animal, he's a little, you know, immature, but not inappropriately so, you know. And after you play kind of the opening of their regular lives, the soft-spoken kid finds a book about this fictional Final Fantasy-like world, and the book allows him and his friends, including the main character, to be transported into it. And the entire game is basically you destroying this world.
It's a bit rude.
Yeah. I mean, literally, the main character's little brother is happier there. You know, the girl, her hair is actually red. She's part of a mercenary group and is able to use her smarts without being insulted for them. You know, the shy kid's mom is still alive and he's the prince.
Hmm.
You know, and
Again,
literally, mhm.
again, are we the baddies?
The answer's arguably yes. Like that's the thing. Like the game,
Mm-hmm.
like it does a very good job of kind of pointing out like you're the only one that wants shit to go back to normal, and the first taste of battle, like the first tutorial, was against zombies, and they're all named after the bullies who are picking on you in the regular world. So there is this sort of messed up part of it of you know who those people were in the regular world and they've been turned into this and you have to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, everybody's getting to have an adventure. You know, even the shy kid's dad is someone powerful and important versus being a depressed drunk, which is what he basically became. That's the implication of what he became after his wife died.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone's happier. So, yeah, you're the bad guy here.
Okay.
You know,
Good job breaking it, hero.
right? Like, you're doing the technically right thing, and there's shown to be some malevolence and kind of a, you know, we all need to grow up. But really, it's pretty consistent, and yeah, everybody's having a good life, and all of these beings that now exist will cease to exist.
Because of you.
Mm-hmm.
How dare.
Yep. I mean, destroying the beautiful lie comes with a cost.
And the cost could very well be terrible, terrible freedom.
Yeah. Freedom is as much a burden as a boon.
Oh, dang it. There we go. And yet. And yet.
Ah, the complexities of human existence.
I mean, again, and the reason that is, it's great to have the same story run multiple times. You see all the different people who answer that question differently. You know, do you do the truth? Do you do the lie? Do you make your own lie? Because, not to spoil anything for the Blade Runner scenario I ran, but there was a strong question of what do you do about the person who was simply pushed too far, if you see it that way. And one of the groups said, you know what? There's this person here who's willing to do anything for this other person. Guess what? We'll pin it on them. And it was absolutely beautiful to see that happen. 6, 7.
That sort of stuff is more fulfilling to me than a combat situation. I don't know, there's something very, very satisfying about I reject your reality and substitute my own.
Of course, also because I ran that scenario right after the scenario where it ended with the rocket launcher going off in close quarters. So, you know, there was a bit of a, just a little bit of a dissonance, especially holding them in contrast. And it's not really dissonance, that's not the right word.
Like, I mean, a conflict between the two scenarios or situations?
Well, no, it was just the thinking of how in the hell did the same scenario, the same setup, and the same characters, because they're all pre-generated characters, lead to, you know, this amazing, you know, these two completely different stories. That's...
It makes sense. You're making a lot of sense. Like, those are two very different approaches.
Very, very different approaches, yes.
You have the Batgirl solution and then the Harley Quinn solution.
Oh my lord, maybe, you know, that's an excellent way to put it. I knew there was a reason I kept you around.
Also, that's the reason, my wonderful analogies.
Hey, don't put coffee in my soup.
No.
Or don't put my coffee in your soup. I don't know, that's your analogy.
Only if you promise to put your cream in my coffee. What?
I don't know what you're talking about. I am absolutely innocent here.
Oh, it's innocent as a... Oh god, I'm not going to use that analogy. We're going to bury that one.
As pure and innocent as yellow snow.
Exactly.
As innocent as freshly plowed snow.
Now, when you say plowed...
There you go.
Also, I just looked at Facebook chat. And I want... You sent me a...
I know exactly what I sent you.
I have questions.
Don't ask me where I found it.
This is a Pinor, a crucifix Pinor.
Oh, we are definitely going to hell in every religion.
I feel like even the religions that don't have hell are just gonna be like, we've made this for you. Commissioned.
Oh, I feel so honored. We have an ethical opposition to hell, and you convinced us otherwise.
You know you've made a difference when you change religious doctrine.
I mean,
Not wrong.
true. Definitely not wrong. I mean, kind of wrong. That's kind of the point. But
True enough.
I forget how I did this before.
Magic?
Maybe? It's a little magic. I'm a little stitious. Okay, there we go. I think I've wrangled that a little bit. Wrangled and mangled.
Little column A, little column B.
Because why not?
Of course.
You know, that's the other thing. I still don't have any proliferators being made. That's what I've been forgetting. Oh my lord.
You should get on that.
I should.
Test. Now I kind of want to go back and look at my old notes for my Darkest Dungeon roleplay.
Do it.
The thing that made me realize I have more of a horror writer in me than I thought is the characters basically kind of in line with the actual kind of game is instead of one main character is kind of the ruler of this land, it was split between three, and all three at various points of the main characters had the same nanny. She was just a very intelligent, lovely, warm, amazing person. And they go into the dungeon beneath one of the manors. And they find what happened to that lovely, caring, wonderful woman.
Oh my.
Basically, she has been mutated into this deformed, roach-like monster that, like, it was probably one of the most disgusting descriptions I've ever written, like, dripping, like, bile, constantly chittering, like, a little more than a little half insane. Like, described like her arms kind of inverting and twisting in on themselves, and every joint is replaced by like pustules, and there's just like an absolute disgusting disgusting being. And I did all of that, and I sent it, and my roleplay partner was like, I legitimately gagged. Can you not go this far again? But yes, I'll tone it down. Like, part of it, probably because of my fear of bugs, I just tapped into, like, everything that disgusts me.
Hmm.
And going from this very sweet description of this little old lady and their childhood to, yeah, she has new furry limbs covered in basically goo and smells like rotting flesh. Yeah, that's a bit of a mood whiplash. I should just write a book of monsters.
That would be pretty interesting, especially with the description you just gave. That would do it.
That'll fit.
Hmm. Okay, that'll do.
The first monster, man. It's just the first picture is just different drawings of human beings, and then the words "This is as pretentious as this book will get."
I mean, there was that throwaway little thing at the end of one of the Futurama episodes where it's like, you know, a rip off of like a 70s morning 70s Saturday morning cartoon where it's like, I'm combining all the parts of the most evil creatures on earth to make the ultimate evil creature on earth. And then, you know, the chamber opens and the fog comes out, and then stepping out is just a person who says, yeah, turns out it's man, and then end credits. And it's like, okay, that, sure, yeah, okay, that was subtle.
That's where that's where I think I got that whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I've done the "it's man" thing for so long. It's been so many generations.
I mean, it's good to honor the classics.
Oh yeah, I've been watching some of the 2010s Futurama. It's not bad.
Which was
It's not
that?
great.
Was that Comedy Central or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It kind of ran into the Simpsons problem of trying a little too hard.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen any of the newer Simpsons. Am I missing out on anything?
Not particularly. I think it's something where if there are particular episodes that are kind of interesting. Like, there's an episode that for me is really interesting because one of my favorite musicians, is the artist Morrissey. And, you know, angsty kid, angsty music, popular in the 80s. And the entire episode is based on a Morrissey parody, including the horrible discovery Lisa makes is when she sees him in person. I don't necessarily like the fat phobia they have, but they depict him as basically Morrissey. Like, he's racist, he doesn't really give a shit, he doesn't really appreciate his fans. Like, it's done very well. Because Lisa has an imaginary version of the singer from the 80s in her head. Mm-hmm. To the point, like, that version goes, "That's what I become?" Lisa, you can't stay like this. Remember me as I was. Sort of thing. They're telling her to have friends and to not just be a depressed, angsty human.
I like it.
It's clever. It's clever in its own way. There's some good episodes here and there, but you know, some are just, they lose the plot.
Yeah, that can happen.
Yeah. I don't think any of the new ones are as funny as some of the older Simpsons.
Okay.
Like, there's nothing that compares to Homer's phobia. As like John Walters and Homer dealing with his fear that Bart's gay. You know, just because of going to like the steel mill with Bart and then the
Yeah,
whistle blows.
I remember that. I remember the steel mill.
Uh, we work hard, we play hard.
That's a line.
That is a
An
line. I fucking love
iconic
it.
line.
It's very well done. There's some kind of interesting, still funny stuff before the voice actor for Edna Krabappel died. They paired her up with Ned Flanders.
I remember that.
Yeah. They had a interesting series of episodes. Like they reveal, I guess, his sons are in a Christian private school, and she wants to get more involved. So she goes to the school and is basically listening to all the anti-scientific, anti-historical crap, and like
Uh
you
huh.
see, like, oh, she actually still does care a little bit sometimes.
Oh, this is bugging my OCD here. I'll be good.
You can endure.
I shall try.
Oh, why am I hungry?
Because you've been awake for a while, and it's
But I had human food.
what does that have to do with it?
If I've already consumed the human food supplement,
Mm-hmm.
my organs should be sated.
I mean, now you're being picky
Am I asking for too much?
a little bit.
No. What have I done?
You know, I think I got too into the conversation and was just been playing this on autopilot. What the heck am I trying to do here?
I, I was a little worried, but also flattered by that. Is that self-serving of me?
No, no. I mean,
Also,
it is breaking your arm to pat yourself on the back, but you know.
I can always grow a new arm. I enjoy our conversation.
Mhm.
And I want you to enjoy them to the point of distraction because it's all about me.
Ew,
As
emotions.
if, what, do I inspire emotion?
Plead the fifth.
I've got all I need to know. You know, that's a fucking power move to, like, end the conversation after you've asked a question and someone doesn't answer by saying, I've got all I need to know, and then leaving the room.
And yet you haven't left the room.
I mean, I could. I'm very tempted to get up and cut myself some cheese. And
Cheese.
it's
Here I thought it was only crackers that like cheese.
cheese brings everybody together, baby. Everybody loves cheese.
Just like parfaits.
Exactly. Though, ironically, I'm not. Every time I try a parfait, I think I'll like it more than I actually do.
Ah. That's what I need to do. A plastic setup. Okay.
You're figuring it out.
Yay! I feel accomplished.
You should.
Ah.
Isn't that the point of video games? So we can feel accomplished in ways that our own everyday life do not provide.
I mean, yes. And that's a little depressing.
Yeah, I got a little too real there. I apologize.
How dare you?
I've committed many crimes.
You have.
But I will be that person. I will not ask that question.
Oh?
I was gonna say, well, like, so what should be my punishment then? Boy, giggle.
Oh, Lord. We are not doing this here. um, where should I fucking do this? Right, focus. Plastic. Setting up a plastic factory. Oh, there it is. Ew. It might need 90 to make a single belt. Ugh. This is why you convert this is why when you're broadening out to the planets, this is why you convert an entire water planet into just making plastic. Just plastic, because the water planets have the most. Or no, I'm sorry. Why you have. Yeah, because water planets make spiniform, which. Here, make carbon nanotubes. But. It's the Mediterranean planets, the temperate planets, that have the oil. And so you need to convert at least one to just straight up oil. And
Oil planet?
yes. Yes. Make it America. Or would no, that'd be OPEC. Okay. So, if I'm just going for purple science, 1-to-1, and it's 2 per second. This requires 1, so I need 2 plastic per second here. I need 6 chemical facilities. So that's kind of stupid to do it on its own just for that little. Where did I put? There it is. Okay. I know what I'm doing. For once.
Oh, more than once. Every blue moon. Oh god, I looked up one order like delivery website for liquor, and all of my Facebook ads are now liquor. I just wanted to look for a second just to see if any news was happening. I think I've ruined myself. Ugh, wait. Now I also want liquor. Ah. I'm curious, what would you say is your favorite game, video game, and favorite game tabletop?
Well, I do enjoy the factory simulators, obviously.
Never would have guessed.
Yeah, it used to be, also never would have guessed, that my favorite tabletop was whichever one I could get someone to run for me who was rather permissive when it came to the crafting system. I know, shocker. Let's see. That is 4%. Okay. But in terms of what I like now,
Mm-hmm.
I think the ones that offer the widest options to the players. So, like future um future setting games set in the future allow for all the same solutions and potential solutions as fantasy as fantasy settings. However, where was I going with that? Yeah, so it's the ones that present the most options to the players. I really, really do not appreciate games that um, you know, as I've been mentioning tonight, pigeonhole into a certain type of game. You know, whether it's a combat simulator or a yeah, this doesn't look janky at all. All right, you know, or diplomacy simulator. You know.
You want a variety of ways to come at the situation. Am I understanding?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Instead of being stuck problem solving one way, being able to use different tools different ways and still come out on the other side.
Right. Um, so in terms of what's the what's a system I like right now? I mean, honestly, Mage, The Awakening, and World of Darkness, Chronicles of Darkness, whatever, are have the absolute widest variety posing, because it literally is just guidelines and creativity. So,
Yeah.
The rule book just says, here's some guidelines, here's some vague parameters. Go see what your storyteller will allow.
Figure it out. Go for it and figure it out if you need.
Yeah. Of course, I have not found a storyteller willing to run that very much. So.
And some are more structured.
Right.
Which pros and cons. That.
There we go. I think that's good.
Have you completed the mission?
I have no idea.
Sometimes we don't know until we know.
This is true. This is true. I also don't know how I am with just going for See, the problem is I can't, like, only select these and get the production statistics on these. It's either all or nothing in terms of where it's pulling from, and I've got other things doing it. You know, you can break it down by planet, but that's about it. Not by section of the planet.
I can see that making it a little, well, to a lot more frustrating to navigate.
Yeah. Now the difference there is where it prioritizes from. See, that's a good sign. You see some of these bobbing up and down.
Isn't that often a good sign in life?
You know, as soon as I said it,
You knew it was coming.
oh my. Oh. So we have these. What am I forgetting? That's what I forgot. I forgot to set the outflow. There we go. Yeah. You gotta tell it what what you want it to be spitting out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not normally a fan of that, but here it's good to put things on the belt.
I was trying to find a way to make it dirty, and my brain just wasn't complying. So I'm glad you picked up the slack.
You know, if it's not you, it's me. And you know, between the two of us, we've always got it covered.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Indeed. All right. So we finally have purple science going.
Yay!
Woo!
Yay for gay science. Actually, purple's the bisexual color. Yay for half gay science.
How dare you? That is bi erasure.
I erased myself. Can you tell how long my day has been?
Oh, Lord. Now this, yeah. Oh, Lord. I don't want it to. Oh. See, the problem with green science is, to see here, it requires gravitational lenses and quantum chips. Now, why is that a problem? Well, quantum chips require processors, which is already a pain in the ass, and plane filters. Plane filters require titanium glass, which I don't have set up yet, and Casimir crystals. And oh, fuck me, Casimir crystals.
I was going to say, aren't those a bit difficult to get?
Yes, and you see why right there. 12 hydrogen a second. Sorry, 12 hydrogen every 4 seconds. How? Just how?
With greatest steam.
So, I mean, you can put 8... No. Like 6 assemblers, and they won't fully work per Mark III belt of hydrogen. Until you start getting to stacking, at which point it's like, just why? And actually that might be an interesting thought process to design out, putting them, having them be stacked, because you can't have them normally come out of a logistics station until here, so that's a bit far into the white science. And even then, it's just, ow, why? Oh, and on top of that, titanium crystal, for now. Why do I say for now? Because you don't have access to that rare resource in the home system.
Oof.
Yeah, and so on top of that, that was just one thing. That was just the quantum chips. The gravitational lenses, right here, that requires diamonds and strange matter. Diamonds, not that big a problem. Strange matter, a fuck ton of problem. Here. Because, firstly, deuterium. Secondly, where is it? These things. Particle containers. But do you see the other thing that is the huge problem with making strange matter? It's on the screen. It says that it's made in a particle collider. Not an assembler, not a smelter, a particle collider. Those things are huge and draw 15 megawatts of power each.
That's not a small amount of power at all.
No. So, to make 2 science a second, you need to make 1 gravity lens a second, which, requires 1 strange matter a second, which requires 8 particle colliders. And that's not even including proliferating, because proliferating does give you some free materials, yes. However, it will it will increase your energy consumption more than it gives you free stuff. So if it gives you 25% more stuff coming out, where is it? Where's proliferators? Here. Energy consumption plus 150%. So that 15 megawatts doesn't become 22 and a half. It's not plus 50. It's 37 and a half.
Yeah, that's a bit extreme.
Yeah, That is a shit ton of power, especially right now. Um,
Yeah.
and okay, but here for 8 particle colliders, that's 120 megawatts just on that one ingredient for one thing, not including the rest of it all. 120 megawatts is a third of the entire consumption at the moment. I need to add more power generation. Yeah. Try to get this to back up a little bit so that it feeds these better. Ah, okay. Okay, so we have these on autopilot now. Alright, so fretting out about it won't help. So we need 1 second. Where's the Casimir? Here. This is 2 plane filters a second. These each require 1, so 2 of these a second. I can do that. I don't even remember what we were talking about before I started freaking out about that. Probably something dirty.
Pussy, I guess.
Sure.
Oh, it's the usual culprit.
It is usually the source of problems and solutions.
Pussy, the problem. Pussy, the solution.
Mm-hmm.
Unironically, one of my favorite words is cunt. And I wish I could say it in a more British manner.
about to say, I know I have a buttload of these. What? New? Now, why? Okay. So I think next time so what I'm going to start doing is yeah, okay, so titanium crystals. Oh, so these are absolutely going to be made here on this planet. Why? That big old buddy. 'Cause this guy produces both hydrogen and deuterium.
Useful.
Yes. If I can get some gas collectors going. Here it is. Okay, that is one of the things I was gonna do. Make super magnetic rings on the other planet, a full outpost of it. But it's these things that should be having no problem with. Where are the empties made? Here. Oh! Well, that's why. So, I need to make proliferators, and I need to make super magnetic rings. Once I do that, those will be brought over here. Go into here, get charged up. Okay, get charged up. Go out to here. And distribute it elsewhere. And it only takes 40 of these to make to completely encompass a planet. Yeah. And that means that once that's up there, I will have pretty much limitless hydrogen on tap. Effectively limitless, because I'm not drawing that much right now. And a good amount of deuterium, because we also saw that deuterium would be required. And right, this one's later. And basically get a Casimir crystal setup going. How many do I need again? 1 per second. 2 plane filters per second, which means 2 Casimir crystals per second, which means 2 titanium crystals per second. 2 titanium crystals per second needs 8 of those. 8 assemblers being fed by 2 organic crystal a second, which is 12. See, this is why you can just gather organic crystals directly and it saves so much hassle. I'm already running into power problems. Hooray!
Doesn't that just mean you're doing something right?
Maybe. And I can't even see what's around me to plan ahead until I toss, was that 1,000? Yeah, 1,000 information science towards it. And that, first of all, why is this? Oh, that's going slow because we're low on power. How screwed am I? Look at that quickly. It's like 40 megawatts I need. That's not something that's going to be easy to get from wind. Yeah, fortunately, everything I've just put down is like 10 megawatts. Okay, you know what I need? You know what I actually need? I need to stop screwing around. Stop screwing around and... I need to start heading towards where I need to be building. That's what I need to start doing.
How long do you think you're gonna be playing for?
20 minutes, because I want to drop some solar panels on the pole here. So not much longer. But no, so this should handle power. And on this planet, I should make a Casimir crystal setup. And where is it? Casimir crystal and yeah, titanium glass, which means plane filters here. Which also means might as well mean quantum chips. You see how this kind of snowballs?
Kind of picked up on that.
Yeah. And of course, my instinct is to build too large. I always end up doing that.
I feel like that's a theme.
Oh, you mean I take on too many projects and find that kind of screws me over for being able to actually handle them all? That's a theme for me?
Well, I didn't go that detailed.
I was.
You have big dreams.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Overall, I'm consistently very nice to you. Just for the record.
There we go. That's what I like to see. Anyway. Really, because the planets are tilted, you kind of have to do this to both poles. That's what that can do. There you go. 241 megawatts just from that. Hooray! Okay. So yeah, let me actually write a note to myself here.
How old school.
I know.
Are you gonna call up a helpline?
I am the helpline. What are you talking about?
This is crap.
Okay, so home. Make a thing for Casimir crystals. I mean, okay. God. Honestly, I really need to find a okay, so the ideal would be a moon orbiting a fire ice giant that has the optical grading crystals on it. I really don't think that happens. But barring that, I could import, because the fire ice makes it a lot easier to get the graphene and the hydrogen there. And yeah, also need the titanium glass. And the plane filters. Now, I think I'm going to be making the quantum chips on the other planet, because that planet's going to have a lot of extra power. And with the plane filters being made on one planet and the processors being made on the other planet, it doesn't matter which one I go to. That'll be... And the quantum chips will be combining with the gravity lenses here, which are going to take a lot of power. Oh, shit. I don't have anything for diamonds. That'll be fine. Yeah. I'll do that on the home planet. So, quantum chips, grav lenses, and since they're both over there already, we're also going to be making the green science, and warpers. Because how do we handle warpers? We already have warpers being handled here by green science being imported. And I can just have the green science come out here and somehow get integrated to the labs. not going to be there, so it's going to be here. Oh. Oh. There we go. So, as this is slowly draining from my Alright. It helps if I actually do the thing I was planning on doing. I can't. Okay. Seems so janky, but okay. Okay. Okay, so, yes, as soon as I get the super magnetic rings being produced, that'll have the knock-on effect of creating not only um, of not only the um, accumulators, but also Mark III belts, which I don't want right now, just because it's materially expensive. Here. There. Oh, right. Proliferators. I'll do that after and I'll do that, yeah, same plan as the diamonds, because this proliferator, I can English, requires diamonds.
Diamonds, precious diamonds.
Cause diamonds are a girl's best friend. Oh, right. I guess on the second planet, should do.
Nudity? Yes, always.
I mean, I need a different audience for that. Do you volunteer?
Remove it to OnlyFans.
Only Dyson fans. There you go. Alright. Forgot the other thing I put in for these. Right, because I made it so that these could be Fancy looking. I totally forgot about it. 'Cause who doesn't want more shininess and more GPU load?
It's exciting.
Oh wait. Because see, I did do this in a way that builds up in the complexity as you go from blue to red to yellow to purple here. And so it makes sense to label it like this.
Makes sense. Sounds reasonable.
Yeah. And complexity just means things like going from 2 inputs per thing to 3 inputs to 4 to 5. Which I thought was a logical way to break it up.
Makes more sense of its.
Yeah, it just needs one going around the whole thing for green. So, also I need to break this blueprint down into stages. Just because, like what I did here, research speed too slow. Oh. It'll be fine. Alright. So I think that's it for me for tonight. Thank you everyone for watching. Almost was exactly 20 minutes. Thank you everyone for watching. Darla, always wonderful to have you here. Do join us anytime you wish. Do you want to have a sign off for the lucky viewers at home?
My sign off is always talk about Cloaca. And yeah, stay cool.
Alright. You heard the ladies. Until next time, keep the party rolling.